Griffin. Joel Embiid took full advantage, 39-13 for him. But this was a close game at the end until Steve Nash sat Kyrie for the final 8 minutes, and the Sixers hung on to win. So why'd you do it, Steve Nash? Why sit Kyrie? Take a listen.
A little bit, would have thought about it. But really, I didn't want to take the group out that was doing so well. They put their starters back in. I think I wanted to reward those guys for playing as well as they did. Kyrie was amazing for us tonight, but he also has had a few days off. I didn't want to put him back in and risk any sort of return to play injury.
All right, we got Nets analyst Sarah Kustok with us this morning. Sarah, good morning. Thanks for being with us. You called this game. What did you make of Nash leaving Kyrie on the bench with a chance to win at the end?
Jenna, I think what we've seen out of this Brooklyn team and organization is a level of consistency in what their priority is. And their priority is trying to get healthy. And this, to me, was another aspect of it. You heard what Steve Nash had to say after the game, and even throughout the course of the broadcast down the end. I brought up the fact that I was curious if we would see Kyrie Irving come back in the game. But I think you look at a couple points with this. One, at that 8.5-minute mark when he came out, Alize Johnson gave a foul to get Kyrie Irving out of the game. It was very clear down by 22 that Kyrie Irving and the Nets felt like he was done with the night, in particular after having been off the last couple of days, played 33 minutes, and things changed. The 21-2 run that the Nets went on, I think, started to make you wonder if Kyrie would go back in. But you see the body language, you see just the mindset. It didn't look like Kyrie Irving was going to be re-entering this game, and give credit to that Nets group. No. They got them back in the game, because this is the thing. And Nick, I know you know this. Brandon, you know this. All of it. When you are looking at trying to get your team ready for a title contention, a lot of circumstances like this, high leverage moments for some of these role and complementary players, they're important. We put so much value on experience. And to me, this was an opportunity for some of these guys to try and get some of that experience. And big picture wise, this Nets team that is still trying to get healthy. It wasn't just about one game. It's not just about the one seed. It's about making sure that down the stretch run, they're doing everything they can to try and maintain the health of these guys.
Well, okay, I respect and I appreciate that. And if it's about experience, then bully for the Nets, because they're going to get a lot of very important playoff experience now when in round 2 they're facing the Bucks instead of potentially in round 2 facing the Hornets. So yeah, they'll get a lot of experience in a series that now is losable, because no one, I know Heat fans will get mad at me, nobody can beat the Nets out of the East except for 2 teams, Philly and Milwaukee can. Now, even if Brandon and Sarah believe they won't, I think everyone acknowledges they can. It's possible. You don't want to have to play them both. And the Nets have essentially opted in now to playing them both. This is a 2-game swing in the standings, because one team gets a win, one team gets a loss, and it's the tiebreaker. And to me, Steve, listen, there is a reason that experience as a coach tends to matter. I know Steve Kerr, in his instant success, followed by Ty Lue and followed by Nick Nurse's instant success, made us think it doesn't. But historically, coaching experience matters. And I would argue Steve Nash had his first bad week as the Nets head coach. I thought if you knew you could only play Durant in one of the 2 games, Minnesota, who you could beat without any of your stars anyway, or Philly, you play him against Philly. And in this game, everyone's pointing to when it got to 3. Well, it got to 12 with 4.5 minutes left, and Simmons and Embiid checked back in. When that happens, Kyrie's supposed to follow, and you're supposed to try to steal that game. So listen, Nash has done a nice job, and he's been dealt a difficult hand because of all the things he's had to deal with to go along with a super talented team. But I don't think you can say that he's handled what I consider to be their biggest game of the season properly in not having Durant available and then opting against playing Kyrie at the end, Brandon. I think it's going to hurt them in the playoff seeding.
Well, let's think about it this way, Nick. At the end, if they're standing and they're champions, will we be talking about the decisions that Steve Nash made? And if they were right or if they are wrong, we're not going to be talking about it. Last night they showed their hand. They showed their cards. They're showing that their priority is getting to the playoffs healthy. Their priority is becoming the champions. That's it. They have a lot of experience on that bench. They got a lot of experience on that team. From KD, you're talking about the playoffs, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. You have champions on that team. Mike D'Antoni. We're talking about two-time coach of the year. Like this whole conversation around experience and rookie coach, it means nothing really, because this team is sitting right there where they need to be. Who would have thought that this team that traded for James Harden in January, the beginning of January, will be sitting 2 in the East? Nobody thought that. They thought this was going to be an implosion. That's what everybody thought. So for them to be sitting right here says a lot. Walking away from that game, I think they should be more confident than ever, Wilds. When you go down to the wire with Nick is saying the best team in the East, and you're without James Harden, you're without KD, Kyrie checks out, 8 minutes to go in the game, they're down 22, and then a JV team bring you back. Like, you should walk away from that game more confident.
I guess so. I think I agree with Nick here, where the idea that we're always looking towards tomorrow, we're always looking for the playoffs. Well, there's a little carpe diem that I think the Nets need. There is something to say for the consistency of a squad. And Sarah, I want to show you a graphic on how many lineups this team has used. Last night, DeAndre Jordan, hey, welcome back to the starting lineup. You got a bunch of DNPs. The teams that switch up their lineup this often are, for lack of a better term, terrible. The Nets are still good. Now, on the plus side, you can say optimistically, look out, imagine how good they're going to be once they get their real starting five. On the pessimistic side, it's like, when you get to playoffs, you have the least experienced and cohesive team in the entire league. Do you fall on the optimistic side or the pessimistic side, Sarah?
I think regardless of group, I would fall on the optimistic side, just because this to me is an example of the versatility. And to go to Nick's point about this being the most important game, there's still 17 games left here in the regular season and a difference of one game. But I think overall, the perspective that you bring up, Kevin, which I think is a really good one and an interesting one, it shows to me the amount of players that have gotten a chance to get a feel for how this team wants to play. And I think the fact that you have the significant amount of games missed by your most talented players, your most impactful players, and the players that you expect to carry you throughout the postseason, to me, that bodes well for the confidence of this group. And as Brandon said, who do you think is coming out of that game feeling better? Do you think Philadelphia feels good that they had to?
I agree.
Doc Rivers is excited about the fact that he had to put Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons thought that they were done for the night. And so I think there's the opposite side of things, of the way a group feels and doing what they are doing in a rhythm.
So I agree with a lot of that. And I think Philly has to hate the way they closed the second quarter, the third quarter, and the last 8 minutes of the game. They dumb play after dumb play, and at the end they could not manufacture a basket. But there's 2 points here that I think are worth drilling down on for a moment. One is, Sarah and Brandon, the point that I hear is they're focused on the postseason. I agree. The point I am trying to make is they are confusing themselves if they think there is any world that exists where a path to a championship is easier if you have to play Milwaukee in round 2 versus the Hawks, the Celtics, the Knicks, any of those mediocre teams that are going to be the 1 seed round 2 opponent. And the other thing is, I don't want to be rude here. I hear there, Nash said it about Kyrie. You're worried about getting healthy. Kyrie wasn't out with an injury. Kyrie was out on his paid time off, his personal leave. And so now
but the reality,
Kyrie's personal leave. Hold on, wait. Let me ask the question. Kyrie's personal days are now bleeding into his working days? Like Kyrie took time away from the team, and now he's also, you can't use him, reinsert him into a fourth quarter? Like that's